Have you ever judged someone too quickly, only to realize later that you were completely wrong? Now imagine meeting someone for the first time, and instantly deciding you don't like them, only to later discover they might be the person who understands you the most. That's The Heart of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. But instead of giving you a summary, let me tell you this like a story you can feel. In a quiet English countryside, in a place called lived a young woman named Elizabeth Bennet. Elizabeth was not like others. She was intelligent, confident, and unafraid to speak her mind. She didn't care much about wealth or status, she cared about character. But in her society, marriage was everything. One day, news spread that a wealthy young man, Charles Bingley, had moved into a nearby estate, and with him came his mysterious friend Fitzwilliam Darcy. At their first meeting, everything seemed normal, until Darcy spoke. He looked at Elizabeth, and dismissed her, not beautiful enough, not important enough, not worth his attention. That moment changed everything. Let me ask you something. If someone judged you like that at first sight, would you ever give them a second chance? Because Elizabeth didn't. From that moment, she disliked Darcy deeply. She saw him as proud, arrogant, and cold. And Darcy, he secretly began to admire her. Her intelligence, her honesty, her strength. But his pride wouldn't let him show it properly. Instead of expressing love, he expressed superiority, and that only made things worse. Now, think about this. How many times do people hide their true feelings behind pride, and end up ruining everything? As time passed, misunderstandings grew. Elizabeth heard negative stories about Darcy and believed them. Darcy watched Elizabeth judge him, and stayed silent. Two people both intelligent, both emotionally, both completely misunderstanding each other, until one moment changed everything. Darcy confessed his love, but not in the way you expect. He admitted he loved her, but also reminded her of her lower social status. That confession, it sounded more like an insult than love. Elizabeth rejected him immediately, and she didn't hold back. She told him exactly what she thought of him. Now let me ask you, if someone confessed love to you, but made you feel inferior at the same time, would you accept them, or walk away like Elizabeth did? After that painful moment, something unexpected happened. Darcy changed. Instead of defending himself with pride, he reflected. He wrote a letter explaining his actions, revealing truths Elizabeth didn't know, and slowly, Elizabeth began to see things differently. She realized something powerful. She had judged him too quickly. Her pride in her own judgment had blinded her, and Darcy's pride had hidden his true character. Both were wrong. Both had to grow. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been so sure about someone, only to later realize you misunderstood them completely? As time passed, Darcy proved his change not through words, but through actions. He helped Elizabeth's family in a difficult situation, without expecting anything in return. No pride, no recognition, just genuine care. And that's when everything shifted. Elizabeth no longer saw the arrogant man from the first meeting. She saw someone humble, kind, and deeply loyal. And Darcy, he finally learned how to love without pride. In the end, they found each other again, not as the people they were before, but as better versions of themselves. Now think about their story for a moment. Two people almost lost each other, not because they were wrong for each other, but because of pride and prejudice. Here are some key takeaways from this story. First impressions can be dangerously misleading. What you see at the beginning is not always the truth. Second, pride can block real connection. When you think too highly of yourself, you stop seeing others clearly. Third, prejudice judging without full understanding can make you lose valuable relationships. Fourth, real love requires growth. Both people must be willing to reflect, change, and improve. And finally, actions matter more than words. True character is shown over time, not in first impressions. Now I want to ask you something. If you were Elizabeth, would you have forgiven Darcy, or would his first impression stay with you forever? And be honest. Have you ever been more like Elizabeth, or more like Darcy in your life? Think about it. Because sometimes, the greatest love stories are not about perfect people. but about people who learn, change, and choose each other anyway.